As we shall see in another program, the English of their Irish Catholic enemies is influenced by the Gaelic past. Today in Northern Ireland, the IRA still fight a war that is hundreds of years old. But the language battle has been lost. Though the IRA talk of one Ireland united in Gaelic, the language of resistance is English. So the fighting tradition of the Scots lived on. And even today, in orange marches throughout the province, the Protestant descendants of those first settlers still celebrate their ancestors' victories over the Irish Catholics. It was Protestant victories like these that made Lowland Scots the language of much of Northern Ireland. Even here on Slemish Mountain, where St. Patrick himself once grazed his sheep. The areas of Scottish settlement form a crescent along the northeast coast of Ireland. In County Antrim, near the market town of Ballymena, their speech has as good a claim to be Scottish as the Scots of the Lowlands.
And bold Scots.
It's the older people in the country who best preserve the Scottishness of Ulster English.
664.
Frank and Sammy White have trained horses all their lives.
What do you intend betting on?
On for betting on Glancer.
We'll do Glancer.
It's money on one. Glancer.
But they know more about horses than betting.
I would think all the money he has won wouldn't take him far.
Oh, take him oh, no, well, yes.
I was thinking it wouldn't be just to go
well,
you wouldn't go on a holiday anyway.
I know, but I was laughing more than £20 at the time. And I laughed at it 2 or 3 times. So it counts up, through time.
I never do gamble because I think I know a certain amount about horses. I never seem to be in the right one. It's either second or third, or it hits a fence, it folds, and that's it. My fiver's gone.
There's one there, 27, brave and easy. That one's likely to go brave and well.
That's a good jump there, going well.
That Ballylope there, there.
Well, that doesn't mean anything, we're only starting.
That's that line third there now, Ballylope, grab it.
Well, it's not galloping a bit with.
Well, it's galloped all year and hasn't won anything.
Well, look, you nearly think she's dropping back too far.
No, she'll put up a bit of racing her that.
And it's a sensible pace. There's good enough jumping now. So much on a wee back like that.
Where's the favourite? Nearly lost.
I know.
Almost the only part of the Scottish accent you won't hear in Frank and Sammy's broad speech is the famous rolled R of the Lowland Scots.
Anything out of Ireland is trouble understanding me.
We're not talking city talk. If we went out tomorrow to the same as ourselves and the ordinary farmers and started some big highfalutin talk, they would think that there was something wrong. And we just talk normal then.
In the nearby Braid Valley, Frank and Sammy's nephew, Alec Miller, is taking 2 heifers to Ballymena Market.
The Millers came to the Braid Valley and the plantation of Ulster in the early 17th century, and they've been here since. They came from Scotland, and they've been here for generations. And I'm living on the farm which I inherited from my father and his father and grandfather and great-grandfather before him. And life goes on in a quiet sort of a way, and people don't travel too far.
Scots-Irish farmers have been coming to the market at Ballymena since the first settlement. Many of them have traditional Scottish-sounding names like McCulloch, McBurney, Cruikshank, Jameson, Logan, and Reed. But not only do the farmers around here preserve Scottish words, they preserve Scottish ways, too. They're famously thrifty. It's said they have short arms and deep pockets.
100 pint, 100 big. Cut 100 pint all that in front. Tank fleece 100. Very dry.
The Ballymena Scotchman is reputed to be even more Scotch than the Scotch themselves.
Can the black heifer can. Nice one there, you'll start again. 90, 80, 70.
Quite a few words used locally in this area which there would no point in me using to you because I know you wouldn't understand them. Because they're of Scottish origin and they would probably be more easily understood in Scotland and in parts of England.
The farmers here say new for now, coo for cow, a bin for above, and fernenst for opposite. The Scottish influence is so obvious that in the past, when Gaelic-speaking Irishmen came to town to learn English, they said they'd come to lift the Scotch. One man who's made a lifelong study of Ulster English is Professor John Braidwood, himself a Scotsman.
Well, my own accent is southwest Scottish, and that is the accent of Burns, and that is the voice that was brought across by the Scots to Ulster.
Robert Burns is as much a national poet among the Scots-Irish as he is among the Scots, and many of the words that Professor Braidwood is collecting for his dictionary of Ulster English have their roots in Scotland too.
You'd hear words like hain. Hain is to use a thing sparingly, to save it up because you haven't got enough to hain. The Scots hadn't very much, they had to hain. Gunk, disappointment. You get a queer gunk, as they say, a queer disappointment, a right disappointment. And would use word like blate. Blate means backward and coming forward. Shy, you see, to be very blate, to be gay blate. They use Gaelic, the Scot, very often as an adverb, just qualifying thing. Very blate, gay blate. They would use words like focht and better focht to focht continuously. Scunner. I can't even express it. It's such a common word here. To scunner, to disgust. Oh, you take a scunner, you take a scunner at a thing, you're totally disgusted with it. Now, a good strong h is the mark of the Ulster Scot. And they've got all the Scottish Burns's pronunciations. They would say stain and hame for stone and home. If somebody shouts names at you in school, you shout back, sticks and stains will break my banes, but names will never hurt me.
About 100 years after the first Ulster settlements, the Scots-Irish were on the move again. Typically undaunted, they set off with a characteristic swagger to another frontier, the colonies of North America.